guys? John McNamara, host, Running Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. If you guys see what you like, subscribe, follow us on Running Vegas podcast. Today, I got my sports co-host, Mr. Ryan Pulliam, in the house. And we're talking the big game.
Biggest game.
We call that the SB. A little UNLV basketball and football, little Raiders. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be good. A lot of stuff to talk about right now.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for being on.
Hey, always my pleasure to come on.
All right, let's start, because this is the big game, the SB weekend. Mm-hmm. We got Hawks. We got Pats. What are your thoughts?
I, for one, and I apologize for anybody in the case. I'm happy it's not the Chiefs again. I mean, it's nice to have two.
Or Philly.
Yeah. Nice to have two new teams. Both teams are defensive-minded. They're defensive-minded coaches. Both coaches in the early tenures of each team's career. You got a kind of borderline journeyman quarterback with Sam Darnold versus an up-and-comer and the heir apparent to Tom Brady and Drake May. And so I think it's going to be a very exciting game, and I'm excited to kind of see how both teams match up against one another.
Yeah. It's cool to see a young Patriots team. I grew up being a Patriots fan. And Drake May, second-year quarterback. He's going to be the second youngest QB in the Super Bowl of all time. Do you know who the first is? Youngest?
I don't.
Dan Marino.
Oh, all right. Marino knows.
Little fun fact there. Personally, though, love the Sam Darnold story. Being 43 years old, I like these journeyman quarterbacks, the Bakers, the Daniel Jones and Indy, revising their careers, proving everybody wrong. So I'm kind of hyped up to see Sam Darnold and Vikings and pick him back up, and It's a pretty cool story. So it's a win-win for me, because I'm the same. I'm just happy the Chiefs aren't there anymore and the Eagles are not. I guess the downside for most fans is the Patriots dynasty number 3 has now occurred.
Right, exactly. It's funny how they're back in it, just about the time those New England fans started to kind of be quiet.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah, I get them. The Boston fans are rough.
They are. Yeah.
I understand it.
They're called massholes for a reason.
Oh,
right?
For sure. Most of us are. So who do you think has who's your NFL team?
My NFL team was the Packers growing up, because you got to kind of pick one when you lived here, and then now obviously I root for the Raiders, but Packers and Raiders, I guess.
Yeah, my NFL team is Tom Brady.
There you go.
So who do you think has the edge in this game?
This one's going to be close. I do think that I'm giving Seattle the edge, just a slight edge, just because of the defense and the roster depth. I mean, there's a couple really good matchups. JSN versus Christian Gonzalez, that wideout defensive back. And then Kenneth Walker. If Kenneth Walker, Patriots have kind of about the middle of the road run defense, middle of the NFL run defense. So if Kenneth Walker can get off that, their Seahawks O-line can dominate that line. I think he's going to have a big game, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do. And then Darnold needs to keep what he's doing, avoiding the turnovers. And he's having a great playoff, have a higher completion percentage in the playoffs, more yards per attempt, and 0 interceptions in the 2 games that they've played. But your boy, if you're asking who I think is the biggest, who could have the biggest edge, if Drake May plays like he did in the regular season. Playoffs, he hasn't been as great. He's averaging about 100 fewer passing yards, fewer yards per completions, and the interceptions. 2 interceptions in 3 games versus the 8 in the 17 previous games. So if he can play regular season Drake May, and granted there was that one Bronco game, that second half was just ridiculous. I mean, it almost shouldn't even count. But if Drake May can play regular season Drake May play his game, I think the Patriots win. But I think overall I'm giving the slight edge to the Seahawks.
Okay, I'm curious what the final score here is now. Okay. I like that. So who I got edge is I think the Seahawks overall have the edge. I think they're both good teams. I think the Patriots are probably a year away. I think the AFC was really down this year.
Yeah.
NFC was really up. I mean, the NFC West was the best division. That the Rams and the Hawks. And Matthew Stafford, to me, was the MVP of the league. And Seahawks beat him a couple times. So my edge goes to the Hawks. I think they have more weapons. I like Kenneth Walker. Break the big one. We'll see with that defensive line of Patriots. Patriots have, probably a top third defense, but it's not elite. I would say, though, Seahawks have an elite defense.
Agreed.
Another edge. I think the biggest edge in this game that nobody's really talking about, special teams. Hawks have by far better special teams, and they have players that can make explosive plays. So my edge goes to the Seahawks, and I don't think it's like David Goliath by any means.
No.
I think if the Patriots win the turnover battle, they could definitely win this game. I pick Hawks, and I'd probably take the points. I think they have 4.5 points. But Patriots could win this game for sure.
I could very easily see them winning this game.
Yeah, I've seen worse Patriots teams win Super Bowls. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, who's the player that you're most interested to watch, and who do you think is be a potential player that could potentially win this Super Bowl?
So on the Seahawks side, their defense is so balanced, it's kind of tough to pick. One guy that I really love watching play on the offensive side is we call him JSN, Jackson Smith Njibaba.
Pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. He can just, it seems to be he has an uncanny, almost preternatural ability to get open on big plays and can just streak down the field. So, I mean, if you need a big play, he's your guy. And then, again, I'm not trying to boy crush, but, I mean, I think, Drake May on the other side of the ball, I've really enjoyed watching him play. He was actually my fantasy football quarterback.
Truth comes out.
So I did spend a little extra time paying attention to his game, and he's a great quarterback. So I think, like I said before, if he can play like he did in the regular season, he's going to be one to watch on that side of the ball.
Well, that is funny because, I'm obviously a Patriots fan, but I like, most people know I like dynasty football. I'm in a bunch of leagues. I have a ton of Sam Darnold, JSN, and Kenneth Walker shares. So I am fans of Seahawks players. So I totally get what you're saying here. We'll see. Because I think, the Patriots this year were kind of conservative. They ran the ball a lot. They're an elite running team. They played overall good defense, and that's how they won games. Where I feel like Hawks could make those explosive games and keep up with teams. I do like what you brought up too. What I thought was really interesting is two defensive-minded teams in the Super Bowl. We haven't seen that in forever. It shifted. It used to always be the best defense or top defenses would be in the Super Bowl. I feel like the last 10 years has been the opposite of that. So it's kind of cool to see that go back to two defensive-minded teams. So my player that I am most interested. So my thought process is, if Vrabel is a Belichick guy, which he is, they're going to do everything in their ability to take JSN out of the game. They've won multiple Super Bowls by taking the best player out of the game. What that leads to, though, and like you said, they're going to have Gonzalez on him, which is a really good cornerback for the Patriots. Rashid Shaheed. Very explosive player, can run the 9 route. I think if they can get one or two of those big plays, him and Sam Darnold, that's going to win the game. So that's my player that I'm on watch. For my MVP pick is Sam Darnold. And who do you got for MVP?
I'm the same boat. Depending on who wins, either Sam Darnold or Drake May. I think, again, the defense on both sides of the ball is so balanced. Unless Christian makes 3 or 4 interceptions, just has a massive game.
Right.
I think it's going to go to the quarterback, because in the big game, you have to make sure you don't make mistakes, don't turn the ball over, make enough plays to keep your team in it. And I think that both quarterbacks have that ability. So on either side of it, depending upon who wins, it's either going to be Darnold or Drake May.
I agree with that. And I probably should put that question after who we chose to win, because I just gave away my answer of who's winning. Because you're absolutely right. Whoever wins the game, that wins the MVP. So I guess if I had to pick, if I thought the Patriots were going to win, it would be Drake May too. My prediction for the game, 31-24 Hawks. What do you got for final score?
I got Hawks 24-20. Seattle's defense gets one extra stop late in the game to win it for them.
That's pretty good. I like it. All right. We got similar results here. Okay. So news that came out. We're going to switch to Raiders. Clint Kubiak verbally has agreed to be the Raiders head coach. If you guys are not familiar with Clint Kubiak, he is the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. So what are your thoughts? Raiders hiring Clint?
Yeah, I think if it sticks, I think we have a tendency as fans to want a big splash hire, and maybe that was with Gruden and then Pete Carroll, and it just didn't end up making a big difference. In fact, it didn't make us better at all.
No.
So I think he's a young offensive-minded quarterback, and we'll get into who they possibly may pick at their first pick in this year's draft. I think it's going to be good, but it's not just about the X's and O's. We've seen with Josh McDaniels coming in with Antonio Pierce. He had 2 coordinators ascending to a head coaching role, and it has to be built on culture, being able to run the building. So that will be something that will be kind of a question mark with Kubiak. His dad, he comes from a lineage of coaching. Gary Kubiak is his father, so he's been around it. He's grown up around a head coach, so I think that gives him a little bit of an extra edge, but it remains to be seen. One thing that I do think that as the Raiders organization needs is a little bit of patience. We've been really quick to let go of the coach if the results weren't necessarily there. And I think that if they're going to go this route, they got to give him a little bit of a runway in order to make things happen and try to turn this thing around.
That's a good take, and that's a really good point because you don't really know. Mike McDaniels is a great example. Easily top 5 offense coordinator in the league. He's proved it year after year in the Super Bowl again. Mm-hmm. Amazing, right? Is not a good head coach. I love the Clint Kubiak hire. He was by far my number 1 candidate when the offseason started. The way they run the offense for the Hawks was incredible. It reminds me of McVay or Shanahan type movement. So the upside with this hire is insane. And with all that said, I think you hit on the nose is, can he be a good head coach? Mm-hmm. It's 2 different things, right? And can he come in on top of this? The culture of the Raiders has to really shift for all this to work. It sounds like now Tom Brady and Spike Tech are changing the culture. They're going to be the guys in role. And then basically Clint Kubiak he doesn't have to have that all on his plate, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That's the vibe I got, and that's why I think they went after a high-end OC versus getting a Jim Harbaugh or something, if they even had a chance for him. Mm-hmm. But I like the pick, and I think he pairs really well for the potential number 1 pick, Mendoza. And with that said, a lot of talk in the media right now is, do you take Mendoza, QB, Indiana, Heisman winner, national champion for the number 1 pick? Or, hey, you can make a debate that this roster's really bad, get more picks, because 2027 is absolutely loaded with quarterbacks. What's your thoughts?
I think Mendoza is a franchise quarterback. I think he's learned to play at a very high level. He has amazing performances on the big stage. And the one thing I think, and I know pros is different than college, he took a perennial loser in Indiana, one of the most losing records of any football school in history, and turned them around and led them to a national championship. Raiders obviously have not had the numbers in the win column that you want to see as of late. And so this guy brings a championship culture into the locker room. He's poised. He checks a lot of boxes. I think you could build around him. And one thing that I think is kind of interesting, we know that a lot of the Raider fan base is from Southern California. They come from Hispanic descent. The dude can speak Spanish. I think the fans would embrace him and run with him. And there might be something in the air that night, and that's Fernando. So we'll go from there.
I think that's a good point, too. Yeah, absolutely. I can think it could potentially bring in more fans in the building. I like it, too, and I think everything I've been learning recently, though, it seems like this is actually a slam dunk, because there was talks about maybe trade for Lamar Jackson, maybe trade down. It sounds like Brady is absolutely in love with Fernando Mendoza. I agree. Here's the thing. The next year's class may have quarterbacks with more upside. I don't know if I necessarily see elite traits in terms of arm, athleticism out of Mendoza, but I see elite, how would you say it, values about the man. He's cerebral, he's tough, and it's interesting that he doesn't get enough credit for being Heisman and national champion for Indiana. It feels like it's actually been doing the opposite for him, where people are like, he's at Indiana, how good could he be? I'm like, it's insane. After watching the Bama game, I mean, I was already sold on him being the number one pick, but after Bama, I'm like, how? After what? And just, they tore them to pieces. I was like, how could you not see this guy as the number one pick this year? So I like it. I think he fits well with Clint Kubiak's system with the play action. They're going to run the ball out with Genty. That Kubiak Shanahan system with the run zone. You like fantasy football, look at Genty next year. It's going to really open up the passing game. I think they need probably a vertical threat to help them out with that.
Yeah.
Alec Pierce, that would be a good signing in the offseason. But overall, I really like it. I think his toughness and how cerebral is almost underrated. So I'm excited. I think they should draft him. So what are your thoughts? Because we got a whole offseason Raiders. What do you think they should be doing to help Mendoza and help this organization?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe if they do draft Mendoza, you have to spend a lot of cap space on an O-line to protect him. He is cerebral. The NFL game's a lot faster than the college game, so allow him the ability to try to slow the game down for him. You do that with an offensive line. I'll let you kind of talk about the Lions because you love Lions more than
you know where I'm going.
A club promoter in Miami. But so yeah, I think you definitely need to build an offensive line around him to help him out. I agree with what you're saying about a vertical wide receiver. I had Pierce on my list. Maybe Mike Evans, go for a veteran wide receiver that can kind of help him out on third down. And then there's been some talk of Romeo Doubs from my Packers possibly being signed by the Raiders in the offseason. So I think any of those caliber wide receivers will really help him out. Running back and tight end were stacked. The defense is going to be interesting. By all accounts, according to Jay Glazer, Max Crosby is done with the Raiders. He still has 3 or 4 years on his contract. So that's going to have to be a trade. I don't think he do a trade one-on-one. I think he try to, as opposed to trading down for Mendoza and getting more picks, Crosby is on that defensive line. I don't think there's anybody out there you can trade specifically for. Try to build the defense up with that trade and get some picks in. And that's what I think they should be focused on the offseason.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I don't know about the Mike Evans because I think we're at least, the Raiders are at least a year away, minimum. So, or 2 years away. That's a better way to say it. So I agree. I love Crosby. I think most of us do, but he's in his late 20s. He's still in his prime. This would probably be the time to get a bunch of picks and load up that way versus trading down. And absolutely, that line just took 2 steps backwards last year. They were a top 15, top 20 line the year with basically the same pieces. And apparently Carroll's son was the offensive line coach, and it showed. I mean, it ended up being, it wasn't the worst line, but I think it was graded by PFF the second worst offensive line in the NFL. And you and I talk about it all the time. Offensive line and defensive line typically are the most important positions in football. And you'll see it like every year in the NFL, in the Super Bowl. Guaranteed both of those offensive lines are in the top 10 every single time. So I think they have to get aggressive in the draft and or through free agency. I would like to see guys either in the prime or maybe mid-level free agents. The good news is the Raiders have about, I think, $90 million in cap space. A 76 of it I think they can use, give or take, because there's some dead cap there. The interesting part I thought, though, about the Patriots and the Seahawks is they have like 40-60 million in cap space, too. So you don't have to spend all your cap space.
Right.
But I don't know if I would be going after big players. I would be going after guys probably about in their prime or about to get into their prime and that are lower level, mid-level free agents that we can kind of build for a couple of years. Because I do think we're a couple of years away from competing.
Yeah, like, I mean, I wouldn't go out and is George Pickens, right? Wide out for the Cowboys. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Yeah, he's Cowboys.
Yeah, so I think he's one of the highest touted free agents on the receiver market. I wouldn't go after him. I would definitely do what you did and kind of do mid tier, let Mendoza ease into the game, and then 2 years maybe make a big play for something.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy with George Pickens. I'm wondering how, because Dallas Cowboys have to re-sign him, but that is tough because I mean I don't know what the number is for a wide receiver, and you just paid CeeDee Lamb, so that's an interesting whole side note. We could get more into that. So yeah, any more thoughts on Raiders?
It's tough that they came and they just haven't done anything to get excited about. So I didn't grow up a Raider fan. I'm adopting him because I'm a Las Vegas guy.
Same.
I would love him to. I would like it just to at least be a good quality product on the field, so they're entertaining to watch at the very, very least.
Same here. Yeah, it would be good. I think they're moving on the right track. Everything on paper, this is by far the best so far. The best offseason. The beginning of it's looking really good. We'll see how they do in free agency and draft, but it's looking. I think Spytek's actually a pretty decent GM. He did a good job and Buccaneers finding, talent and developing. So we'll see with Tom Brady's leadership and kind of the versatility of all the other jobs he has. But just getting that because Mendoza, good question for you. I mean, he seems like a Sam Darnold plus or Daniel Jones plus or maybe like a Matt Ryan that can get the edge and actually run. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what would be your comp for Mendoza? Put you on the spot.
My comp? Like, what do you be paid?
No, comp. Like, who would you compare him to?
Oh, okay.
You are in real estate.
I am.
We got to get you out of real estate right now. I love it, though. This man's always working.
I mean, I think Matty Ice is probably a really good.
Yeah.
Really good. What am I trying to say?
Comp.
Yes, thank you. He's a great comp. No, I definitely think, pocket passer, but if you need to put your head down and run, I mean, it's not like it's Peyton Manning, but it's also not like it's Lamar Jackson. I think he's kind of middle of the road there.
Yeah, one thing about Mendoza, and we'll never actually know this, but I think he's the most cerebral quarterback I've seen since Peyton Manning. So, and I hate to say that because there'd be so much pushback on that, but I can't. The way he analyzes plays, if you see it, and he's come out and he's like, yeah, it's like a puzzle every time I go, but it's just like, it's crazy how quickly he processes. I haven't seen it. So the upside with him, even though athletically he may not have the elite traits, and I think he's a good fit for Las Vegas because he just seems like he's a good, humble kid. This town can swallow you up if you're,
No, absolutely.
So I think there's a lot of things moving in the right direction. So I'm excited. I'm excited to talk more Raiders with you this year. So we'll get that more into our. But with that said, we gotta talk about our favorite thing ever: UNLV basketball and football. All right.
All right.
So not too exciting.
No, not exciting at all.
UNLV basketball.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing all black today. I'm still in mourning from the loss at Fresno State. So.
Oh man, it's bad.
It is, and
what's the analysis on this today?
The funny thing is last time I was here, it was just 3 weeks ago, if that. We just come off people calling for Pastor's head, and then you had a really big win at Utah State, thinking, okay, gonna turn some things around, have San Diego State at home. Lost that game, got blown out. I mean, it's just got blown out by New Mexico. It's bad. And then what happened at that last 7 seconds of that game at Fresno was just so bad, and I'm at a loss. I mean, I really don't know. I've left the Thomas and Mack early 2 times as a Rebel fan.
Ooh.
The first time, Ashley, my wife, had tickets to Madonna, so I had to go watch Madonna. And then it was the other night versus New Mexico, and I was more embarrassed to go see, or excuse me, I was less embarrassed to go see a 7-year-old woman sing like a virgin than I was walking out of the Thomas and Mack. So it's frustrating. I know the diehards are frustrated with this right now, and we're all left scratching our heads, and I don't know what goes on with it.
Yeah, I don't think you can lose 4 Mountain West games in a row, no matter what. Like even 3. I mean, the last time we saw it was Dave Rice, and he got fired. So should Pastner be fired, or we give him another year?
No, I think you have to give him another year. He has a little bit of runway. Whenever you come on like the way he did, especially he didn't come out of coaching, right? He came out of the broadcast booth, so he didn't have kids he was recruiting the last 2 to 3 years that he could say, hey, listen, I'm heading over to UNLV. Why don't you come follow me over there? It was just starting from scratch. And I do think, what we saw on paper at the beginning of the year, you and I were both really high on Kamani Hamilton. I don't know if they just play prison rules at High Point or what, but the kid can't stay on the court without fouling out. And then some guys, obviously the injury bug, I think that's been beaten to death, so we don't want to do that anymore. It's the lack of consistency that I think is a head scratcher. Pastor, I think, is a great cheerleader. He gets everybody excited, but you have to get some X's and O's guys. So I am giving him some runway to get his guys in place, get a year of recruiting underneath his belt. But we can't be having these conversations of are we playing better in February? And the answer is unequivocally no.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I kind of give Passner, not that we were talking about this, but probably like an incomplete grade this year, no matter what happens. I'm not trying to make excuses for the man, but his starting point guard, that was supposed to be a very big piece of this offense, hasn't played one game. And then Diemble and Stevens, who are supposed to be starters as well. Stevens missed the first 2 months, and then Diemble is out for the rest of the season. And now Tyron Jones, who's probably their best player next to Gibbs, has been out. So he's had some really rough injuries. I will say this about Passner. It shows a lot about his character, because we've had UNLV football and basketball coaches in the past that make excuses. This man makes no excuses. He takes full accountability. So in terms of the man, he's good. Now he needs to win, though. And I think he only gets one more year after this. So, and I think it's literally, you have to get 24 wins or in the tournament. Because this is just, it's funny. I never thought I'd hit another low in UNLV basketball, but it was this week. You know, my first was when we played Arizona State with Rice. I'm like, okay, let's fire Rice. And then all these other things happened, the Beard scenario. All these things continue to happen over the years. But they absolutely have to change the basketball culture. This has to change. And if Passner does not get it done next year, or throw some kind of miracle in the Mountain West tournament this year, they got to get just a good X's and O. I love the New Mexican coach. That's the guy I wanted, and they interviewed him. I'm pretty sure. I thought that's what we were getting. Just get an X's and O. There's too many programs that are just winning a lot of basketball, and they don't have big recruiting budgets. And I think Passner absolutely has more upside than those coaches, but we just got to win. It's getting bad. Like, the fans are gone. Like, you have an empty stadium and you're having 2,000, 3,000, maybe 4,000 people show up for a program that everybody loves. And that's the thing, is it's not that the fans aren't there because they go to the UNLV. There's 25,000, 30,000 of basketball fans going to football games. So I just went on a rant on UNLV. But so either way, culture needs to change. Absolutely. He needs to win. I'm sick of rebuilding. He needs to win next year or somehow pull out some miracles. So that's the rant today. Let's change the Mountain West TV deal, media deal. What are your thoughts?
The good news is, excuse me. The good news is we're at least, I mean, all the financials haven't been released yet, but from what has been reported, we are not losing any money. So those defectors, the legacy teams aren't losing any money. They're still going to get, I think, $3.5 million a year. So we didn't lose any ground. We picked up the CW network as another channel that's going to broadcast Mountain West games. I don't know if that's going to translate, people watching Gilmore Girls reruns transitioning into basketball, but more eyes on the program is better. I know Bill Hornbuckle, who's the CEO of MGM, he was in Connecticut, saw the Running Rebels on TV and said, I want to go to UNLV. So I do think that a broader exposure helps the university at large. But again, it kind of comes down to the dollars and cents, and it's going to really depend on, is it the Kaswani? The streaming service. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's called something weird, like Kiss Me or something
Kiss
like
Me,
that. I swear this is a real app. It's on Prime. It's going to be the Mountain West, but they run it. Yeah. But it says it weird, but I think you pronounce it Kiss Me.
Right. So, I mean, depending on how much that service costs, the streaming service costs, the Mountain West network is free if you just log in to the Mountain West. I don't want to pay extra to see a team lose. I will, but I don't think we lost out on anything with this deal, but I don't think it's an actual, we didn't knock it out of the park. I think we held serve. And realistically, that's what we needed to do with the defections. Maybe some lower tier schools staying, and the media market's not as large. I'm okay with where it ended.
Yeah, I think they did pretty good. They got Fox Sports, PAC did not, in the streaming that you just hit on the nose, and they got a legacy deal of $3.5 million. We know also with UNLV staying, they got plus $1.7 million, so that brings them up to $4.7. The Mountain West tournament is staying at the Thomas and Mack, plus the streaming could be up to $1 million per the Mountain West. We'll see about that. Let's say it's $300,000. And plus the Thomas, we're talking about a $5 million a year per UNLV. So UNLV financially, and plus they're going to get roughly $20 million, give or take, depending on how that settlement goes.
Right.
They did pretty well. and I think the Pac did poorly.
Yeah. I don't think the Pac wanted the CW and USA to be their flagship networks.
Yeah, this is rough. If you're a Pac, and I know Pac fans like to, make up things.
Yeah.
But I would put money, if their deal was over $7 million, they'd be telling everybody about it because it would be the number one G5. The fact that it's not, it's telling me it's probably somewhere between 5 and 6. So if you're UNLV, let's say it's 6, and we got 5, give or take, and the Pac teams are getting 6, and then you get plus $20 million for the next 5-6 million. Financially, it's looking like it worked out really well for UNLV.
You're right.
So as much as we would have liked to see the Pac and play those teams, as of right now, it looks like UNLV did well.
I agree.
So, but I think that's it. Thanks for being on the pod. That was quick.
Always thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ryan. If you see this guy, where are you going tonight?
I'm going to the VGK game. I'm going to watch the next game.
T-Mobile, you buy this beer, man, a beer, get them. Guys, run to Vegas. Take care of yourselves today.